Good afternoon, Captain Bridges, Station 46. Today we're going to talk about brush truck operations on Brush 46 during TSAR use. So the first thing we'll start with is the winch that's located on Brush Truck 46. It's a worn 15,000 capacity winch. Flip up tag in order to access the hook for the winch cable. Another thing that you'll find located on Brush 46 are two different styles of snatch pulleys, in addition to an accessories bag, which will contain your tree straps that are located on the driver's side, high side compartment, and the body. So something specific to this truck is this brush guard that's on the front. If for some reason we need to access the drum of the winch, we have to pull these pins to lower this. There will be two located on either side of the brush guard, in addition to two at the collar of the turret. These are held in by cotter pins. Once you release the 4 pins, the turret will disconnect from the supply line, and this folds down, which will give you access to both lift the hood and to free up any issues you would have with the winch. It's imperative to put it back when you're done. Slide it up, reattach the supply line to the turret, replace the cotter pins, and then replace the pins and the cotter pins for the brush guard. Much like the other worn winches found on brush trucks throughout the county, it has a manual clutch to engage and disengage the transmission. This will be the silver hook located on the left side of the winch. You'd switch it to free spin. This will allow you to deploy the winch cable. There's also a remote with a long wire to provide you safety to get out of the way. This plugs into the top of the winch. When operating this, we would want to extend this all the way out, stand at a safe place, not in the direct vicinity of the winch when we start to engage. This will allow you to engage the winch in and out as you begin the operation. The last thing of importance when utilizing the winch in the TSAR operations is to leave the truck running, so you're operating off of power, not the batteries alone. You don't kill your batteries. Next, we'll talk about the use of 4-wheel drive in TSAR operations. Typically, when you're driving on the road, you want to remain in 2-wheel drive. However, if you find yourself in deeper waters, slippery conditions, or muddy off-road conditions, you'll want to utilize the 4-wheel drive. In order to utilize 4-wheel drive in this truck, you'll need to place the truck in neutral, apply the air brakes, and the first step will be locking your hubs. In order to lock the hubs, much like the other trucks, you have free spool and lock. On each side of the truck, you'll place it in the lock position on the hub. Brush 46 is unique in that to operate the 4-wheel drive, you use buttons. Once you have the hubs locked, the transmission's in neutral and parking brake is applied, you would hop in. You have the front axle, which is in gear and out of gear. You would push the front axle to in gear, and then you would switch the trans shift into low or high, depending on whether you want to use 4 high or 4 low. In muddy conditions or deep water or unpassable terrains, we would typically use the low. Once you have these buttons engaged, you would shift the transmission to drive, release the parking brake, and continue on. Once you've completed operations and you're ready to return the vehicle to road gear, you would stop the vehicle, place it in neutral and apply the parking brake. Put your trans shift back into high gear and take the front axle out of gear. You would then put the hubs back to free and place the transmission into drive, and away you go. Lastly, we're going to talk about traversing through deep waters. Ford recommends never going in water deeper than the hub of the tires. However, this truck has obviously been lifted. So there's 3 important things we need to realize when driving through deep waters. 1, this is the main electronics box for your breakers. This will get water intrusion and can damage the breakers. 2, the intake is very high on this truck, so the chances of you ever taking water there are slim to none. Lastly, any electronics under the vehicle. A good rule of thumb is not good water deeper than the hubs. If you do, proceed slowly, not to create a wake and splash water under it that could potentially damage electronics. And 3, if you're not sure, don't go.